Dr. Glen Duerr with us. He is the Assistant Professor of International Studies at Cedarville University in South Central Ohio. Glen, so you have now brought us up to speed and up to the present. So now let's take a look at this. For those of us who are trying to put all this together in our minds, how did we get from that point in history to where we are now? What has happened over the last 12 months to make this such a hot spot and really exacerbate this situation?
Yeah, Ukraine is quite a divided country, and the narrative in the international media is that it has this pro-Western part and a pro-Russian part, and that's in part true, but it's more complex than that. If you look at the 1994 and 2004 elections, we have a deeply divided country, but it's one that was still very Ukrainian. It wasn't so much Western and Russian. I guess one of the big components, the big reasons it sped up recently was from November of last year, where the countries of Georgia, Moldova, and Ukraine each were set to sign an association agreement with the EU, with the European Union, basically meaning that they would have some trade advantages. In Georgia and Moldova, it went through, but at the last minute, the president of Ukraine, or the then president of Ukraine, Yanukovych, actually did not sign. And it led many people in Ukraine to protest, those that wanted much stronger ties with the EU to better trade, to really improve the standard of living. And so from November through about February, there were significant protests in Kiev, in the capital city, but in many of the major cities across Ukraine. This eventually led to a significant point where Yanukovych then fled the country in February, leaving this vacuum in power. Those that remained, that were part of the opposition group, then filled that void. And it was mainly from in English, the Fatherland Party. That is the party that had actually governed from 2004 to 2010 under Viktor Yushchenko. And so they've had some experience in governance, but still, there was a vacuum in power, and really, the Ukrainian constitution has no mechanism in which to deal with it. And so that then led to unrest in Crimea. We saw that really starting in February and then becoming much more violent in March, and then really significant Russian involvement there. Vladimir Putin had largely denied it, but has recently said, yeah, Russian security forces were involved. There was a very hastily put together referendum on the 16th of March in which some almost 97% of the people in Crimea and then 96% of the people in Sevastopol said, yes, we want to become independent, we want to leave Ukraine. The next part of that, Russia then annexed the territory of Ukraine. The government of Crimea, the interim government that came to power, then said, okay, we want to become part of Russia. And Vladimir Putin on March the 21st said, yes, we accept this.
We've got Dr. Glen Duerr with us, the Assistant Professor of International Studies at Cedarville University in South Central Ohio. Okay, Glen, we've kind of set the stage here, and we've heard from a number of mission agencies across that portion of Europe that there is not only unrest amongst the people, but there is nervousness at this time among many of the churches in Ukraine and in the area of Crimea. Of course, obviously, the Orthodox Church has a large footprint there, but Baptist churches and Assemblies of God churches and many other denominations that we would be very familiar with now have a footprint in that area. What's the effect going to be on Ukrainian and Crimean churches as a result of all this unrest?